भुवनाभिवेव तस्मै रुद्राय नमोऽस्तु त्वमग्ने रुद्रो असुरो महोदिवत्वहं सत्तो मारुषं वृषमीषुषे त्वं वादैररुणैजातिसङ्गयस्त्वं पूजा विदधद्वाशिरुत्मनाः हरि ओं महद्यो नमः सुस्तिमन्त्रार्था सत्या सबला सुतदेव बन्धो महान्तोर्षणं देवालयस्य वेदागमूर्तं दीर्घम् आजुष्यं पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं देवालयस्य श्रीवल्लीदेवसेना समेत जगन्नाथ महासुब्रह्मण्य परमेश्वरस्य विशेषवसन्तमण्डपपूजा कर्मणि मध्ये सम्पादित मन्त्रलोभ तन्त्रलोभ काललोभ निबलोभ सद्दालोभ सत्यवे सर्वं तदोक्तं यदा शास्त्रनिष्ठितं पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं श्रीवालयस्य वृन्दारकपतिनन्दन पदन शोभितमन्दारक साधु सन्तेकतन्तोकमहन्तदिन्दुकसन्दन सम्भजबलनवदन प्रजाल किन्दोळधालधामल पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं श्रीवालयस्य अधीनतबलकुमुकुमायमाननवकोटिमल्लिकाहार मुक्ताहार कौजेयन कनकगजित मुकुरपरनिकरपरिशोभायमान सिंहमुख सरबमुख कनकखण्डमण्डित शब्दकाञ्जन रथगजतुरग वाहनादि संयुत पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं यजमानस्य पुनर्पूषा नक्षत्रे कुमरे जयन्तन कुमारदासमाप्पाण मुदलयार्नामदे सुत्रडा नक्षत्रे कुमरे हरीश्वरा नामदे महासुब्रह्मण्य परमेश्वरस्य परिपूर्ण कृपाकटाक्षं धनघनक वस्तुवाहन लक्ष्मीकटाक्षं निरीक्षणं पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तजन्मङ्गलानि भवन्तु अखिल जराचर पञ्चकृत्य कारणस्य भवतः त्रिवार पुराणं उपदार्य
கடவிண்ணதிர நிலமெங்குமதிர்ந்ததய மலையிடையானையேறி வழியே வருவேனெதிரே அலைகடலாலரையன் அலர்கொண்டு முன் வந்திரஞ்ச உலையணையாத வண்ணம் நொடித்தான் மலை உத்தமனே அந்த வேளையிற் கௌரியை நோக்கியம்மையன் இந்த நின்மகன் தன்னை கொடுவருகென இயம்ப கந்தரங்கள் விடையினும் துண்ணென இழிந்து சிந்தை கொண்டே பேராதரம் தன்னோடும் சென்றார்.
महासुब्रह्मण्य परमेश्वरस्य परिपूर्ण कृपाकटाक्षं पूजा सुदीपबन्धो महान्तोर्षणं सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तजन्मङ्गलानि भवन्तु. सुब्रह्मण्य दक्षिण कैलासवास तुदीय पाद देव देवोत्तम देवेन्द्र मगुडालाविद धरणारविंद ऋषेक्षण पारायण त्रियत्रिंशत्कोटि देवता समुख अनादिरुद्ध पारायण विनायक समुख उमावीर जनन कुमार वीर समुख चतुर्वेद वित्पुलित चतुर्मुख समुख निराहार प्रमुख नारायण समुख आधार रुद्राक्षाधारण एकादश रुद्र समुख ज्ञानपत्र समेत वीरभद्र समुख आलकाल सप्तगणादि भैरव समुख अभिनव श्रीधर हरिगिरपुत्र समुख जगत्संगम पुराण वेद शास्त्राहार त्रयत्रिंशत्कोटि देवता समुख श्रीमन्महाराजाधिराज अखंड भूमंडल प्रत्यधिगंध विश्रांत कीर्तिकी गिजवल्ली महावल्ली समेत जगन्नाथ सुब्रह्मण्य परमेश्वरस्य पादारविंद भक्त जनादिरूढ़ सोरद महादान शिवगोत्रोद्भव रघुनाथ माप्पाण समूह श्रीमन्महाराजाधिराज अखंड भूमंडल प्रत्यधिगंध विश्रांत कीर्तिकी महावल्ली गजावल्ली समेत जगन्नाथ सुब्रह्मण्य परमेश्वरस्य पादारविंद भक्त जनादिरूढ़ सोरद महादान शिवगोत्रोद्भव कुमरेश दयंदन कुमारदास माप्पाण समूह ब्रावी मागेश्वरी गौमारी वैष्णवी वारागी मागेन्द्रे शामुंड्यादि सप्तमात्र समुख जननी कारिणी रूप शक्ति समुख शक्ति ज्ञानाशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति समुख अखंड भुजा सेवित गुग निर्माल्याधारण सुमित्र चंडीश्वर समुख
வளாகத்தில் அமைந்துள்ள துவாரகாஸ் ஷோரூம் என்பது உங்கள் வீட்டு கட்டுமானத்திற்கான அனைத்து தேவைகளுக்கும் ஒரே இடமாக திகழ்கிறது. அழகான மற்றும் தரமான டைல்ஸ், கொமட், சிங்க், எலக்ட்ரிக்கல் மற்றும் பிளம்பிங் பொருட்கள், மிரர், லைட் ஸ்விட்ச் மற்றும் வீடு கட்டுவதில் தேவைப்படும் அனைத்து கட்டட பொருட்களும் இங்கு கிடைக்கின்றன. எங்கள் பொருட்கள் அனைத்தும் உங்களது வீட்டிற்கேற்ப வண்ணங்களில், வடிவங்களில் மற்றும் தரமான முறையில் வழங்கப்படுகின்றன. உங்கள் வீட்டின் அழகு, நவீனத்தன்மை மற்றும் நீடித்த பயன்பாடு என மூன்றையும் ஒரே நேரத்தில் நிறைவேற்றும் வகையில் பொருட்கள் தேர்ந்தெடுக்கப்பட்டுள்ளன. உங்கள் கனவு கட்டிடம் உருவாகும் பொழுது தரம் மற்றும் நம்பிக்கையுடன் பொருட்கள் வாங்குவது அவசியம். அதற்கான சரியான இடமே துவாரகாஸ் ஷோரூம். இன்றே எங்களை தொடர்பு கொண்டு உங்கள் கட்டிட தேவைகளுக்கு சிறந்த தீர்வை பெறுங்கள். நீங்கள் தொடர்பு கொள்ள வேண்டிய தொலைபேசி இலக்கம் 077-2597-612.
வெள்ளவத்தியில் வீடு வாங்க வேண்டுமா? கோல்ட் ரோட்டிற்கு அருகாமையில் ராயல்டி கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனால் கட்டப்படும் தொடர்பாடி அடுக்குமுறைகள். முன்பதிவுக்கு இன்றைய முந்துங்கள்.
கிருஷ்ண கரோதி கரோதி கிருஷ்ண கிருஷ்ண கரோதி கல்யாணம் கல்யாணம் கரோதி கிருஷ்ண கிருஷ்ண கரோதி கல்யாணம் கரோதி கல்யாணம் கல்யாணம் கரோதி கரோதி கல்யாணம் கம்ச கம்ச கல்யாணம் கரோதி கரோதி கல்யாணம் கம்ச கல்யாணம் கம்ச கம்ச கல்யாணம் கல்யாணம் கம்ச குஞ்சல குஞ்சல கல்யாணம் கல்யாணம் கம்ச குஞ்சல குஞ்சல கேசரி கேசரி குஞ்சல குஞ்சல கேசரி தாளந்தே ஜலதல தாளந்தே தாளந்தே ஜல கல்லோல கல்லோல ஜல தாளந்தே தாளந்தே கல்லோல ஜல கல்லோல கல்லோல ஜல ஜல கல்லோல கோலாகல கோலாகல கல்லோல ஜல ஜல கல்லோல கோலாகல கோலாகல குதூகலி குதூகலி கோலாகல கோலாகல குதூகலி 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 வித்யாஸ்வேனுதராஸ்தவ சுப்பிரமணியோகம் சுப்பிரமணியோகம் சுப்பிரமணியோம் சாம் ருத்ரகுமாராய அஷ்டாங்கயூகநாயகாய மகாமணிபிரலங்கிருதாய ஸ்ரீவல்லீ தேவசேனா சமேத ஜெகநாத சுப்பிரமணியேஸ்வர பிரபோ வயம் சர்வே மனசா பக்த்யா வேதோக்த மந்திர புஷ்பாஞ்சலிம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. हरिः ॐ वास्तोस्पते प्रतिजानीहि अस्मान् स्वावेशो अनमीवो भवानः यत्वे मगे प्रतिदन्नो जुषस्व सन्नेदित्विपते सञ्चतुष्पते वास्तोस्पते सग्मया सगुं ददादे सक्षीमहीरन्मया गातुमत्या आवह क्षेमौतयोगे परन्नो यूयम् पाद स्वस्तिभिः सदा नः वास्तोस्पते प्रतरणो न एदि गोभिरस्वेभिरिन्दो अजरासस्ते सख्ये स्यामपि देव पुत्रान् प्रदिनो जुषस्व अमीवः वास्तोस्पते विश्वारूपाण्याविशन् महासुदेवैर्दिनः शिवहुं शिवं शुभहुं शुभम् भूर्भुवः शुभो भूर्भुवः शुभो भूर्भुवः शुभः देवदेवोत्तमदेवता सार्वभौम स्वामिन् प्रीड्यमान देवार पुराणम् अवधार्य திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். உற்றுளவு பணி உலகத்தழுமை வைத்தார் உயிர் வைத்தார் உயிர் செல்லும் கதிகள் வைத்தார் அமரர் கணம் வைத்தார் அமரர் காணாரை வைத்தார் குறையதியம் வளர வைத்தார் செற்றமலியார்வமொடு காமலோபம் சிறவாத நெறி வைத்தார் துறவி வைத்தார் நற்றவர் சேர்த்திருவடியன் மேல் வைத்தார் நல்லோரம் பெருமானார் நல்லவாரே சரவணம் தன்னில் தனது செய் ஆருருத்தன்னையும் இருகரங்களால் அன்புடன் எடுத்தனன் புள்ளி இருமுகங்களோராறு பன்னிருபுயம் சேர்ந்த உருவம் ஒன்றென செய்தனள் உலகமீன்றுடையாள் பன்னிரு திருவுருவம் சேர்த்தனள் உலகமீன்றுடையாள் சகுகராஜ விராஜே பக்தரட்ச சுதேசி மகேசே ஓம் மூசிகாரூடனாக யஜ்ஞோபவீதபாசாங்குஜதர கஜராஜவதர சித்தி விக்னேஸ்வர சித்தே ஜகத்ருட்டி திவ்யஹம்சாதரூட பிரம்மதேவ சித்தே சிவபூஜா பாராயண சங்கசக்கரதர ஸ்ரீமன்னாராயண சித்தே ஆதிவீரன தத்பதாரண ஆதிபைரவ சித்தே தூபதீப பிரமோத ஹரிகிரபுத்திர சித்தே त्रिपुट्टामाल्याद्रियत्रिं सत्कोटि देवता देवेन्द्र सिद्धे अष्टाचत्वारि सहस्रमामुनि सिद्धे अखण्ड भुजा सेवित कुकनिर्माल्या धारण सुमित्र चण्डेश्वर सिद्धे
வளாகத்தில் அமைந்துள்ள துவாரகாஸ் ஷோரூம் என்பது உங்கள் வீட்டு கட்டுமானத்திற்கான அனைத்து தேவைகளுக்கும் ஒரே இடமாக திகழ்கிறது. அழகான மற்றும் தரமான டைல்ஸ், கொமட், சிங்க், எலக்ட்ரிக்கல் மற்றும் பிளம்பிங் பொருட்கள், மிரர், லைட் ஸ்விட்ச் மற்றும் வீடு கட்டுவதில் தேவைப்படும் அனைத்து கட்டட பொருட்களும் இங்கு கிடைக்கின்றன. எங்கள் பொருட்கள் அனைத்தும் உங்களது வீட்டிற்கேற்ப வண்ணங்களில், வடிவங்களில் மற்றும் தரமான முறையில் வழங்கப்படுகின்றன. உங்கள் வீட்டின் அழகு, நவீனத்தன்மை மற்றும் நீடித்த பயன்பாடு என மூன்றையும் ஒரே நேரத்தில் நிறைவேற்றும் வகையில் பொருட்கள் தேர்ந்தெடுக்கப்பட்டுள்ளன. உங்கள் கனவு கட்டிடம் உருவாகும் பொழுது தரம் மற்றும் நம்பிக்கையுடன் பொருட்கள் வாங்குவது அவசியம். அதற்கான சரியான இடமே துவாரகாஷ் ஷோரூம். இன்றே எங்களை தொடர்பு கொண்டு உங்கள் கட்டட தேவைகளுக்கு சிறந்த தீர்வை பெறுங்கள். நீங்கள் தொடர்பு கொள்ள வேண்டிய தொலைபேசி இலக்கம் 077-2597-612.
வெள்ளவத்தியில் வீடு வாங்க வேண்டுமா? கோல்ட் ரோட்டிற்கு அருகாமையில் ராயல்டி கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனால் கட்டப்படும் தொடர்பாடி அடுக்குமுறைகள். முன்பதிவுக்கு இன்றைய முந்துகள்.
ஆனால் அருளை வழங்கும் உனக்கு பன்னிருக்கை வடிவேல நீல மயிலேறும் தனிகை வளர் முருக வாங்கும் எனக்கு இருக்கை தாங்கும் பூக்கள் கொண்ட தணிகை மலை தாங்கும் பூக்கள் கொண்ட தணிகை மலை கதிபா தாங்கும் பூக்கள் கொண்ட தணிகை மலை கதிபா தாங்கும் பூக்கள் கொண்ட தணிகை மலை கதிபா தகுமோ ஒரு கோடி செங்கை தந்தாலும் அதிகமாகுமோ முருகா வாங்கும் எனக்கு இரு கை தாங்கும் பூக்கள் கொண்ட தணிகை மலை கதிபா தகுமோ ஒரு கோடி செங்கை தந்தாலும் அதிகமாகுமோ முருகா வாங்கும் எனக்கு இரு கை ஆனால் அருளை வழங்கும் உனக்கு பன்னிரு கை வடிவேல நீல மயிலேறும் தணிகை வளர் முருக வாங்கும் எனக்கு இரு கை ஒன்றை இறக்க வந்தார் கொன்பதோ ஒன்றை இறக்க வந்தார் கொன்பதோ உன்னருளை நான் என்னென்பதோ முருகா ஒன்றை இறக்க வந்தார் கொன்பதோ உன்னருளை நான் என்னென்பதோ முருகா ஒன்றை இறக்க வந்தார் கொன்பதோ உன்னருளை நான் என்னென்பதோ முருகா பொன்மொழி உன் செவிக்கு உகந்ததோ பொன்மொழி உன் செவிக்கு உகந்ததோ திரு புகழினை கேட்டு மனம் கனிந்ததோ பொன்மொழி உன் செவிக்கு உகந்ததோ திரு புகழினை கேட்டு மனம் கனிந்ததோ பொன்மொழி உன் செவிக்கு உகந்ததோ திரு புகழினை கேட்டு மனம் கனிந்ததோ வடிவேல நீல மயிலேறும் தணிகை வளர் முருக வாங்கும் எனக்கு இரு கை ஆனால் அருளை வழங்கும் உனக்கு பன்னிரு கை வடிவேல நீல மயிலேறும் தணிகை வளர் முருக வாங்கும் எனக்கு இரு கை
Canada has fought back. Canada has punched back into Donald Trump's face and said, not today. Canada will not be intimidated, will not be bullied by Donald Trump's threats. And in the process, Canada exposed how weak Donald Trump has made the United States economy. In other words, checkmate, Donald. Prime Minister Carney outmaneuvered you. And Prime Minister Carney said, okay, Donald, you're going to make these threats. You're going to set these deadlines. You're going to make these fake trade deals. Canada ain't playing ball with that. We are always going to represent Canada in these negotiations, but we will not be bullied and we will not be intimidated and we will not bow down to artificial deadlines. So when finally the August 1st deadline approached, Donald Trump was like, I hereby impose 35% tariffs on Canada. And Prime Minister Carney stood his ground and he was like, well, that's disappointing, Donald. We're disappointed in you, but we're representing the interest of Canada. So go pound sand. And Prime Minister Carney pulled out of Washington, D.C., their trade minister, Dominique LeBlanc, and said, see you later, Donald. We're going to focus on building Canada strong. We don't need to deal with you right now if this is how you're going to behave. We're disappointed in you, Donald. Treat him like a baby. Here's the full quote from Prime Minister Carney. While we will continue to negotiate with the United States on our trading relationship, the Canadian government is laser focused on what we can control, building Canada strong. Canadians will be our own best customer, creating more well-paying careers at home as we strengthen and diversify our trading partnerships throughout the world. In other words, Donald, we are looking to Europe. We are looking to Asia. We are looking to Africa. We are looking to Australia. We are looking to Mexico, Central America, and South America. And we are saying bye-bye to the United States. As the Washington Post puts it in this headline, for Canada's Carney, no deal with Trump might be better than a bad one. You do not make a bad deal or a fake deal with the United States. So here's what happened with the trade minister, Dominique LeBlanc, who was there in Washington, D.C. He was talking to Donald Trump's commerce secretary, Howard Lutnick. And then Donald Trump earlier in the week said, it's going to be Donald Trump goes, oh, Canada, it's going to be so difficult to do a deal with you because you now support a Palestinian state. Bad decision. And then Howard Lutnick went on TV and said, why would you do that? Why would you recognize a Palestinian state? Now we can't do a trade deal with you, huh? Because you recognize the existence of a Palestinian state, which we should all do. Now that's a new condition the United States imposed. Always a bad faith actor. And by the way, Donald Trump said 90 deals in 90 days. Well, we're well past 90 days. Trump has actually done 0 deals. You know how I know he's done 0 deals? Show me one piece of paper that actually has a deal written on it instead of just Donald Trump's social media posts. Because when I look at Japan, they say, we ain't giving $550 billion to the United States. That ain't happening. There's no binding deal. Maybe we'll give a loan, but that'll be at our sole discretion. European Union says we ain't giving $750 billion to the United States. Maybe companies want to invest or give loans, but we can't guarantee anything. And when Prime Minister Carney stood up, and I'll show you what Minister LeBlanc did in a moment, it exposed how weak the United States economy is because on Friday, the markets pretty much crashed in the United States. Donald Trump then fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner because Donald Trump hated that the job numbers came in so bad. We saw economic data that hasn't been this bad since the Great Recession of 2008. And now Prime Minister Carney says, checkmate, Donald, checkmate, because who's in the driver's seat right now? Even people like Kevin O'Leary, a Canadian, who was all about, I think, being like a sellout to Canada, because he was all about, we should be the 51st state and Canada would be so much better if we looked more American. He was doing all of that. Now even Kevin O'Leary, again, Canadian, or I'm sure a lot of Canadians don't want him to be Canadian. He's all like, yeah, I think the market's reacting to the fact that the United States of America didn't get a trade deal done with Canada and did bad deals. Yeah, you think? Your tune has changed a little bit, O'Leary, Mr. whatever the hell you call yourself. Here's how it's being reported of LeBlanc's exit. After months of drama, you mean Donald Trump acting like a freaking psychopath? Don't act like this is mutual drama, Politico, who's writing this. After months of, I'll just change it, Trump acting like a freaking psychopath, Prime Minister Carney's top lieutenant departed Washington Friday without a deal, but confident Canada's trade pact with the U.S. and Mexico would blunt the impact of Donald Trump's escalating tariff. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominique LeBlanc held a lengthy meeting with Howard Lutnick on Tuesday after touching down in D.C. before moving on to other senior White House officials. None of that prevented Trump from raising Canada tariffs from 25% to 35%. Although it's important to note that those tariffs are just on all non-USMCA compliant stuff. So about 85% of the trade relationship, or maybe even slightly more, is already covered and exempted from the tariffs under the USMCA, United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which was basically the update of NAFTA. That was actually a real agreement, but there's still a lot of other stuff out there that can cause real pain in the economy for, by the way, for both Canada and the United States. But Canada's going to make the United States pay even more. So LeBlanc leaves, and then he goes, I'd expect to maybe talk to Lutnick on the phone next week. We'll see. There's no meeting scheduled, LeBlanc said, but I exchanged a text message with him yesterday. Boom, perfect. Exactly how you should act. Not panic, because why panic? Let Trump and Lutnick panic. Let the Kevin O'Learys panic. Stay calm and stay confident and stay Canada strong. It's just funny. Candace Lang, the CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, called the White House fact sheet, saying we must impose these tariffs on Canada because of Canada putting all these fentanyl drugs into the United States. Which is not happening. So Candace Lang said, yeah, that's what's called a factless sheet. More factless tariff turbulence does not advance North American economic security. Now, one of the things that Prime Minister Carney was also watching as well was the oral arguments that took place here in our Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, which finally on Thursday heard the arguments that Donald Trump's trade war against the world was unlawful and exceeded his powers to declare an emergency, which is, and his emergency claim is fentanyl, that Canada is killing all of these Americans with drugs. And Donald Trump applied this emergency power across the world. And the court was very skeptical of Donald Trump's claim. So it's possible Trump's going to lose in the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, and they're going to negate the existing tariffs. Carney's smart. He's watching that. And as I said, Carney brought Trump to his knees on Friday. Because look what happened to the American market. The Dow was down over 1%. The S&P was down 1.6%. NASDAQ was down 2.2%. And the job data was horrible that came out. And a lot of the reasons why we're seeing job cuts 75% more now than they were this time under the Biden administration also is Canada led an international boycott against the United States of America. We're not buying your products if you treat us like crap. You want to test us, Donald? International tourism boycott. We're not going to the United States. Las Vegas is suffering. Florida is suffering. Arizona, lots of states are suffering because Canadians, Palm Springs is suffering. Canadians would normally be traveling to the United States. They're skipping over and going to Mexico, or they're going elsewhere. And Canada is buying Canada. They're not buying American products. They've inspired Australia to do the same. What's up, Midas Mates? They've inspired Europe to do the same, and Africa and elsewhere to do the same. So let me show you this. Just to remind you, earlier in the week when Prime Minister Carney, it's about 5 days ago, Prime Minister Carney was holding a press conference, and he goes, look, sure that there's August 1st. That's Donald Trump's claiming August 1st. But we are not going to bow down to an artificial deadline. Listen to what Prime Minister Carney said. Let's play it.
Let me start with the second part of your question, which is industry, businesses, Canadians. They are anxious and they are concerned. They don't deserve the uncertainty that's been thrust upon them. They don't like it. They like resolution, but they'd also like they want the right kind of resolution. They want a deal that makes sense for Canada, that makes sense for Canadian business, for Canadian workers. The negotiations are at a intense phase. It's a complex negotiation. You see with the various trade deals that have been agreed by other jurisdictions, European Union yesterday, Japan before, Indonesia, etc., the United Kingdom, that there are many aspects to these negotiations. We're engaged in them, but the assurance for Canadian business, for Canadians, is we will only sign a deal that's the right deal, that's a good deal for Canada. We're representing Canada. We're standing up for Canada. The United States and Canada can do many good things together. We have done that in the past. We can do more in the future, but on fair terms for our country.
Yeah. So now let me show you someone like Kevin O'Leary, a panicking. Kevin O'Leary, a panicking right now. And again, Kevin O'Leary was all cocky before, because he was like, even though he's Canadian, he was like, America should take us over. America should crush us. I was like, he was saying the most humiliating things imaginable. I'm at Mar-a-Lago selling out Canada, in my opinion. Okay. So Kevin O'Leary is explaining why the bad economic data. He goes, I think the market's concerned that Trump didn't do a deal with Canada. Bullseye. Here, play this clip.
I think the market is a little concerned about major trading partners not getting deals yet that make sense. It's not a good idea to have 35% tariffs on Canada. We know that that's coming into place at midnight right now, unless something magic happens. So there's a lot of vol around what's going to happen on trade, because you heard Ford, automotive company, whining about $2 billion worth of profits evaporating because of tariffs. You heard that from GM last week. You talked about that yesterday. So with this volatility, it's more about future earnings. But a lot of this stuff, including the trade print or the job print, noise, just noise. You don't make decisions based on one print.
And here's Kevin O'Leary again saying, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens, but, maybe Trump makes a Canada deal. It helps the market, but we'll see. Here, play this clip.
It's just a negotiating tactic. And I've always said this, you got to forget about watching sausage being made with Trump, because he likes to do it right in front of the camera. He's grinding the meat and it's coming out of the meat grinder, and he likes to show it to you until it's put into the sausage. I don't necessarily need to see that. I just want to know what the policy is, as I said yesterday. So if we end up next week with a Canadian deal at 10 to 15%, good deal. It's going to be fine for both countries. And that's why I say, let's wait. I mean, I don't know. You've been watching like crazy. Who's going to negotiate 190 deals in 6 months? Impossible. You just want the headline number, and that's what we're waiting for.
In other words, Carney holds the cards right now. Carney holds the cards. If there's no, you get what I'm saying? If there's no deal with Canada, what do you think's going to happen? The market's going to continue to tumble. I think it's going to continue to tumble anyway. So Carney's like, test me. And Carney's a former central banker, right? He was the leader of the Bank of Canada. He was the leader of the Bank of England. He knows intimately what's going on with the markets. He knows that Canada holds close to $1 trillion in U.S. treasuries. By the way, Japan holds more than $1 trillion in U.S. treasuries. So I think that Carney fully understands the systemic weakness in the United States, and he's bringing the United States down to his knees. But by the way, go back to the interview I did with none other than former member of parliament Charlie Angus. Back on January 4th, 2025, I conducted this interview right when O'Leary was saying 51st state and Trump was mocking Canada. Here is what Angus was telling people in Canada and the United States. And Angus rallied everybody. He rallied the world, frankly. Angus deserves, in my opinion, some major recognition for what he did. But here's what he said January 4th, 2025. Here, watch this.
As Mar-a-Lago moves to Washington, we're watching a grifter's parade. We've got loser billionaires like Kevin O'Leary coming down and to talk to Trump and saying he's going to cut a deal to sell out Canada. We got losers on Fox talking about making us the 51st state. We all know what that's about. This is all about diversion. Donald is coming in at a time that he's going to bring maximum chaos, maximum havoc to the American people. So he's looking for a punching bag, and there's his nice, quiet Canadian neighbors that they're threatening they're going to take over. He's going to steal all our water, maybe come and take the chickens out of the backyard as well. I don't know. But the thing is, Donald, it's not going to work. And what you're doing is you're creating chaos for your own people.
And now you have in Canada the liberal government in Canada, led by Prime Minister Carney, conservative premiers, other than Daniel Smith in Alberta, but you've got, Doug Ford, who used to be Maple MAGA back in 2016, 2017, but he's very anti-Trump now because he's pro-Canada. You can't be pro-Canada and pro-Trump. It just doesn't work that way. If you're pro-Canada, you're anti-Trump because Trump's trying to destroy Canada. So Doug Ford's message, he wrote this whole message after Donald Trump's, imposing the 35% tariffs. Doug Ford says, look, I spoke to the Liberal government, Prime Minister Carney, Doug Ford's Conservative premier, provincial level in Ontario, and goes, I told them, we don't bow down to Donald Trump. We're in this together.